Hey y'all, so I want to continue the accessory work talk and just give you a little more guidance, and we'll just kind of go through an example here, but I want to give you a little more guidance on exactly how to implement all the stuff we've been talking about. So just to kind of summarize, we have another video that we've done with the bigger picture of accessory work, but first and foremost, classes are plenty and are more than enough. So if you are coming to class consistently, week in, week out, 3 to 5 days a week, you are doing plenty. So this video is for those that are already doing that, coming 3 to 5 days a week consistently. They have been for a while. They understand that they want more and their body can handle more. And again, the other video I did talks about all the different factors that go into it, like training age, your weight, and all these types of things. So this video is going to be specifically just kind of going through some examples and how we want to think about actually implementing our accessory work. So first of all, in the other video, we talked about how often to do it, and that kind of just depends on your level. So we're just going to start and kind of look more generally here. So if we look at week 1, 2, 3, and week 4, what we're looking to do is start at a minimal effective volume. And then throughout the weeks, we want to get ourselves to a maximal recoverable volume. So this is something I talk about a lot. There's a minimum that we need to do to elicit an adaptation in you, and there's a maximum that we can handle. So a lot of people get a little too excited in these first weeks of cycles, and they take these too hard, and then they have nowhere to go, and they actually kind of decline here. So if we're gonna set up top-end performance, we need to set it up. So look at this as almost like warming up for a workout. You're better if you warm up, stretch out, get your heart rate up, then cool down a little bit and go after it, than you are if you just come in and go after it. So we need to work on technique. We need to develop adaptations to stimulus throughout the weeks as we go, working ultimately into 1 week where we are going absolutely to the max of what your body can safely and effectively recover from. So that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to stay in these ranges. So we have a real simple approach to this. In week 1, we're going to start with lower volume, potentially lower intensity. Volume is just the number of reps you're doing multiplied the weight of those reps. Gets kind of difficult to calculate because especially think of doing sit-ups. What is the weight that you're moving in a sit-up? So it does get kind of complicated. So to simplify things, we can sometimes just think of volume as the number of reps you're doing. So you did 50 sit-ups this week. To get more volume, we need to do more than 50 sit-ups the next week. So as we kind of work through volume and maybe intensity is going to build up. We do kind of vary these things around, and across cycle, as the intensity rises, how much weight you're lifting, the volume needs to decrease. But within one of these little 4-week chunks, we want to raise volume for sure, maybe intensity along with it. So don't confuse those two things. As volume goes up, as intensity goes up, volume needs to come down when we're looking at this big picture versus the next one, versus the next one, versus the next one, and as we work from hypertrophy into strength and into peaking. But within each of these individual ones, we want volume going up and possibly intensity going up as well. So with this, the more practical stuff is we want week 1 to be about 3 to 4 reps in reserve. Okay, reps in reserve just means you're doing a set, and say with this weight, the most you could do is 10 reps. 3 to 4 reps in reserve would mean you would do 6 to 7 reps and then call it quits. So you leave 3 to 4 in the tank. So when we write this in the programming, we tend to write it instead of reps in reserve because it kind of confuses people, especially new people looking in. We just try and make it a little more obvious. So we say 3 to 4 reps shy of failure. So when we're saying reps in reserve, or when we're saying reps shy of failure, that's what we're talking about. Then in week 2, generally we want to be 2 to 3 reps in reserve. 1 to 2 reps into reserve, 0 to 1, meaning most of these sets are taken to failure. So the mistake a lot of people make is in accessory work, especially when we're doing stuff like pull-ups and ring dips and push-ups and things. They're taking everything to failure. And when you do that, you kind of max yourself out right here, and you don't have anywhere to go across these weeks. And you might still be able to get better along the way, but this way is going to help you develop your stamina, your muscle endurance, your training, your technique. It'll help you develop so we can have one real big effort here. And the saying is 20% of your effort, the main 20% is going to produce 80% of your goals. This is going to be that. So we want to boost this up to a level that we won't be able to get to if we're going failure, 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 failure. So we build up, build up, build up, have a bigger performance week here. That way we can keep cycling through. So that's kind of what we're looking for. So how do we work this in to the programming? Something we want to keep in mind, if we're doing hypertrophy work, we want those reps to end up being anywhere between the 5 to 30 range. So if week 1, we're coming out and we're already up at that 30 range, as we build, we're probably going to end up going a little too far. So week 1, you definitely want to keep this closer to that like 15, 20 rep range to give yourself somewhere to go. So what we're going to do, and we're going to be providing this type of accessory work programming for you, but if you're doing this on your own and you're trying to program on your own, especially if you're adding to someone else's programming, make sure you understand what's going on, where it kind of happens, so you can talk with the coach and work with them so you can know exactly where and when to add things. As far as our programming goes, we've got Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So we typically have a lighter, and these kind of bounce back and forth if it's going to be the light or heavy day, but typically we have the lighter leg day here, lighter arm day here. This is a pure cardio day or a rest day, depending on if you're going to rest on one of these 2 days. This is going to be the heavy leg day. This is going to be kind of an in-between day, and this is going to be a heavy arm day with the rest day. So that, just because that's how we're laid out, how I recommend starting out is we're going to pick just one day for lower body. I like to pick Monday, so I'm just going to write lower in here. Maybe 1, maybe 2 days for upper body. Tuesday's a good day for that. If you want to add a second one in, let's add it here on Saturday. And then let's pick 1, maybe up to 3 days to work on core. What I like to do is do it before kind of rest days or days where I'm not doing other accessory work. So I'll just write in abs here, abs Thursday, abs Saturday. So again, you don't need these. If you're going to add in another lower body day, it would be here Thursday. So again, you don't need all of this. I would recommend at least one of these if you're looking to add accessory work. But the other thing we got to keep in mind is the bigger the muscle, the more time it takes for that muscle to recover and adapt. So lower body, for me personally, I like to add 1 lower body accessory work day, if any, into my programming. Upper body muscles are a little bit smaller, so I like to add in 2 upper body days, and I just do a little bit here, a little bit there. Abs are much smaller even than the upper body, so 1 to 3 days for the abs. These can handle more, but we're getting so much more in classes, so you don't need to. So this is really, really pushing it. The other way, the other type of accessory work we can add into that we talked about in the last video is Olympic lifting. So kind of the core places to add Olympic lifting is going to come along with Monday's workout and Thursday's workout. Those are great places. If you're going to go to the next level and you're adding even more, then looking to add it Tuesday, Friday, oops, that's a U, oh God, can't spell. Here we go, Saturday. you get it. So that's kind of what the accessory work template would look like. Olympic lifting needs to be done before class. Speed and power only get produced if you're at 90% or more effort. So if we're doing Olympic lifting after a workout, that's not to say that's not bad or that's not good for you. It has some other things, but if we're really looking to develop the Olympic lifting, skills and speed and power things need to be able to be developed when you have maximal power available, and that's before the workout. Accessory work, more bodybuilding, muscle building type things can be done after the workout, and that's usually the easiest way to go. So Ollie before the workout, accessory work after. If you're looking at doing this plus classes, now we're looking at a world-class workout program for a world-class athlete who also is spending the time eating correctly, sleeping, getting massages, doing soft tissue work, and really being a professional all around. So don't look at this being like, I've got to add every one of these things in. Just kind of keep the big picture in. So let's get into the specifics. So we have a 4-week mesocycle here. The bigger cycle that would include multiple 4-week chunks would be called a macro cycle. So we've got a 4-week mesocycle here. And mesocycles can be anywhere from 2 to 6 or more, but generally in here we do like 3 to 5 weeks. So in this example, we have a 4-week mesocycle. We're looking to start just above a minimal effective volume, and we want to end at a maximal recoverable volume. So we're trying to hit these things. So let's just use upper body as an example here. So what would we do? For 4 weeks, I would choose some upper body accessory work. If I'm gonna also do abs on Tuesdays, then we'll just kind of use this here. I'm just gonna do real generic stuff so we can kind of look how it plays out. So let's pick a press for chest and triceps. We'll just go kind of generic with this stuff. So bench press. We need a pull, so let's say a bent over row. Actually, let's do this. Let's call this a pull-up. So we have some body weight example in here, okay? And then let's pick an ab exercise. Remember, we don't want all just straight back and forth. We want a lot of twisting and turning and stuff like that too. But we're gonna start just pretty generic here, and we're gonna call this a weighted ab mat sit-up. Okay, so what do? Week 1, we're looking to get 5 to 30 reps in these sets. What I like to do is 3 supersets, and we call them hard sets. So what's a hard set? In week 1, a hard set is 3 to 4 reps in reserve. A hard set on week 4 is going to be taking to almost failure, if not failure. So how do we start this? We're going to kind of pick a weight, and we want variance to happen. So if this is your first time doing this, pick almost anything. Weights that are going to get you between 5 and 30 reps. We don't want that first week to get you up into that 30 range. So I recommend keeping it above 50% of a max. And then if we're closer down to that 5 range, you might want to start somewhere in like the 75 or 80% range. But I recommend if this is your first time, let's start at about 60% of a max. That's going to put you somewhere in that 15 to 20 rep range for that first set. Okay, so we're going to pick our weights and pick our exercises in a way where optimally we'll get here between the 5 and 30 rep range. So let's say week 1 on set 1, bench press. Let's say we're using 60%. So say we pull off 16 reps. Then set 2 on week 1, we're still doing bench press. So let's say we get 14 reps, and then let's say we get 10 on the 3rd. The whole time we're lifting, okay, we're trying to keep in mind 3 to 4 reps in reserve. So that means on this first set, if you would have kept going, you actually would have been able to get 19 or 20 at kind of that failure point. So we're giving ourselves some room to grow. On pull-ups, let's say week 1, we do 12 in the first set, 10. On the third set, let's say we get 7. Weighted ab mat sit-ups, let's say similar things. Let's say we go 12, 12, and let's just say we get 12 again. So here's what we're going to do now. Week 2, we're going to move with the new thought. We're trying to get 2 to 3 reps shy of failure. In week 2, we're trying to do more volume, possibly more intensity. What I recommend is within these little 4-week chunks, we don't worry too much about adding weight. Let's worry about getting more volume. Only add weight, and this is actually, I shouldn't say only, but in the beginning, you can get away with this kind of style for a couple years. So in the beginning, only add weight if week 1 and week 2 is going to put you at or above that 30 mark. Then let's go ahead and add weight. But until then, let's work a weight and let's try and get better and better and better and get more reps in with that weight. Let's keep it simple. So then we're looking at week 2. We're trying to get more volume. So I want to match or do more reps here. And I'm also, as I'm doing it, I'm keeping in mind, I'm trying to stay 2 to 3 reps shy of failure. So let's say we get 17 bench presses here. Then let's say we're able to get 15 bench presses here. And then on the last one, we're able to get 10. So we beat, and match. We did more volume this week. And if it felt like 2 or 3 reps shy of failure, perfect. Okay, say on the pull-ups. First one, we're only able to get 12. That's fine. Next one, say we're only able to get 10. That's fine. We matched. And say on the last one, you're able to get 9. We did more. Okay, so match or do more reps, keeping in mind we're not going to failure. We're saying 2 to 3 reps shy of failure. I'm not going to run through the weighted sit-ups, but it's going to be something similar looking. So that's how we would progress. And then by week 4, we're nearing that maximal recoverable volume. And then a lot of times we'll do a deload week and kind of come off the accessory work a little bit, give your body some time to adapt and give your muscles some time to heal and resensitize to training. That's super important. We can't just go as hard as we can all the time because we plateau. So we have to be kind of going hard, pulling back, and that's going to maximize gains here. So this would be kind of the setup here for a 4-week chunk. So then what does the next 4-week chunk look like? Again, deload in between probably. So what does the next 4-week chunk look like? It's going to look something similar, but now we need to add variation. We can't just keep doing the same things over and over again. If you're brand new to this stuff, you can probably do the same things over and over again for a pretty long time. But in general, we're going to want to add some variation to it. So how do we add variation to the bench press? I think the most obvious thing is change the movement completely. We can do incline, we can do decline, we can do weighted ring dips, we can do regular ring dips, we can do dumbbell bench press instead of a barbell. On the bench press, we can change the grip. We can go wider, we can go narrower. We can add pauses. Another way to vary is to go heavier or go lighter. So that's adding variance to it. So there are so many ways we can add variance for that next chunk. And what I try and do personally is I just try and not do the exact same exercise. So if I can help it, I don't want to have my variance be simply a weight change. I'd like it to be a slight grip change. I'd like it to be a slight angle change, either with incline, decline, or an apparatus change with dumbbells, kettlebells, rings, whatever it might be. So same kind of thing. Pull-ups, a weighted pull-up would be a way to vary it. Pull-up, chin-ups, these would be ways to vary it. We can do bent over row. So we're just looking for a pulling exercise. Sit-ups, keep in mind we don't want purely just straight on, but if we're doing multiple days of abs, we have the time to work in twists and some other things. So it's just a matter of choosing something that's different and finding a way to vary it. If it's with grip, stance, implement, how heavy it is, these types of things. And we want something that can kind of keep going. So for the most part, when we're talking about the muscle building stuff, the overload aspect, the making this harder and harder and harder over time is very important. So let's take the weighted term off of this, and let's say we're doing sit-ups for most of you watching this video, you can already do more than 30 sit-ups. So now we kind of have this problem. The problem is we have to do so many reps to create a stimulus. And then we have to continue to do so many reps and so many reps. So one, we have a problem with time. It just takes forever. But also we're not getting challenged and we're not optimizing those muscle building hypertrophy ranges. You're still gonna get hypertrophy doing 100 sit-ups. You absolutely will. But we're not gonna optimize kind of that balance of time and effectiveness. So we're looking for that 5 to 30 range. So whenever we have pure body weight exercises, we're kind of limited on how we can overload this over time. So if your sit-ups fall within this range, awesome, keep going, but at some point in your training career, sit-ups might end up being way less effective. So that's why we like the weighted sit-up. And we like knee raises, but we like weighted knee raises. Because then it's really easy to overload because we can add weight, add weight, add weight, add weight. So just things to keep in mind. So one more real quick summary here. The macro cycle is kind of the bigger picture, and it typically has a hypertrophy phase, which is going to be these 5 to 30 rep sets in it. Then we usually move into a strength and a peaking phase. In the peaking phase, I would kind of back off of the accessory work a lot. But in the hypertrophy and strength phases that we're already doing in classes, we're already doing hypertrophy and strength work. So adding in some extra hypertrophy work, regardless of the cycle, even if it's in the strength cycle, would be a good way to do it. Again, we're going to be providing, once we get open gym times going and all that again, we're going to be providing exactly what workouts and what accessory work you can do, so there's less thinking. But this is a lot of what's going in behind the scenes, and we want to give you the tools to be able to create your own customized stuff. So starting week 1, minimal effective volume, working up in volume, possibly working up in intensity throughout the 4-week chunk called a mesocycle. Each week would be called a microcycle. In week 1, we're starting 3 to 4 reps in reserve, 2 to 3, 1 to 2, 0 to 1. Really just trying to build and build and build. So don't come out too hot on week 1. Give yourself some place to go. I'm sure there's some stuff I forgot to talk to y'all about, but for now, I think that's going to do it. Let me know if you have any questions. Hope this helps. Talk to y'all soon.